Hello and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is host Eric, and as an authoritative YouTube personality, people ask me questions such as, "Can you give me advice about things?" To which I say, "Yes, I can. Here's some advice for you." So in this instance, I'm going to give advice to people like me who have a long history of struggling with project beginning, project completion. I mean, starting projects has historically been a lot easier, but at a certain point when you realize you're not finishing them, you start to incur a certain amount of metaphysical baggage that slows you down even in the initiation process. So I have got for you, though, a really great, fun, easy project that I believe you'll look at and you'll go, okay, I can do that, and I get why he wants to share that with me because it's uniquely all the things I need a project to be. Okay, as somebody who needs projects to be certain things, right? I like projects that have a short time span, but I don't want to do something that's just a craft, like take somebody else's idea and execute it exactly as so or whatever. I want a lot of creative energy I get to put into it. So, but there's a balance there, right? How much creative energy are you really putting in if it doesn't take very long? So, how do you reconcile that? Well, first understand that almost most of the time when we get bogged down in shit, it's because we don't manage well the pre-work, real work dynamic. And we don't consider hard enough the pre-work elements in any given project idea. The risk, of course, when you start a project without doing a lot of pre-work is that you get somewhere into it and you realize the architecture is wrong and it's not going to work the way you anticipated, and then you got to go back and redo everything, and then you say, fuck it. So, you want to know going in, you're talking about a project of fairly limited scope, fairly limited ambition in and of itself. To the extent you have larger ambitions with a project, do it in chunks so you've got each thing ideally would function as a complete whole finished thing in and of itself as well. Alright, so this project does require a couple of tools. Mostly what it requires is a jigsaw. Now you can get a jigsaw for as little as $60 or something at Home Depot. You can get a cordless jigsaw that I'm sure is perfectly acceptable. I got a corded one. I in general like to get corded power tools. They're more powerful. And I got not the most expensive one, but a more expensive one. Because I figure when you're buying something like that, it's better, a tool is better to spend a little bit more, probably. So anyway, but you can get them cheap, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Jigsaw is what you need for this. If you have a jigsaw already, this is a cheap project. At Home Depot, they sell these boards. I'll show you some. I went there the other day, got a few different sizes. This is called a hobby board. This one's red oak, and you see it's very thin. If you just have a Dremel tool, you could do the same project in miniature with one of these. No problem. Alright. Even if you wanted to be crazy and take a long ass time and shit, you could use hand tools. But this is the same. This one is a little bit longer and a little thicker. Half inch. This is poplar. This is another oak. No, this is birch. Sorry, this is birch. Different size. This is like for shelves usually, probably. But I'm not going to use it for a shelf. I don't know. Alright, so these are some of the different size boards you can get. And there's other kind of wood they have there too. They have maple and they had some other things. But, so this is the size board I'm working with currently. This is the size board. This is, it's an oak, same kind of board. So I got two of these boards, and this is the one I'm working. This was the original of what I'm working on here. Okay. Now, what I did to start this project was I got one of these boards and I wrote on here freehand TwFP with a pencil. Okay. You can write whatever you want. You can write your initials. You could write "fuck you." I don't know. You want probably a fairly limited number of letters. The fewer number of letters and the bigger the shapes, the less time the project will take to complete. Okay, so this is the size board. Now, after I wrote all those things on the board, I wrote the 4 letters on the board, I went over it with a Sharpie so I could see the lines pretty well. And then I took the jigsaw, and I was very surprised. I was just like, okay, well, I brought out the jigsaw and my circular saw, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I'm probably going to need to do some of the outer cuttings, not the detail cuts, with a circular saw, I thought, but not at all. The jigsaw just was like, you can turn a jigsaw. That's the whole point of it, right? You can cut curves. You have to get a feel for it a little bit. You can't try to turn too fast. So, and the slower you go, the sharper the curve you can make. It takes a little while to get the feel for it. I haven't gotten quite the feel for it yet, but I got the feel for it enough to successfully do this. Now, the only other tool I use besides jigsaw on this, and a Sharpie, this hole I made with one of those borer bits on my drill. Now, this is not done, obviously. This is the first rough cuts. I did them today, and it took me 30 minutes, maybe, to cut it out. And maybe I spent another 30 minutes on writing the letters on here and going over it with a pen and stuff, at most. I don't know. So this is only an hour. It's an hour project from this to this if you have the right tools. If you have a jigsaw. Okay. Now, to finish this, I'll probably put at least a couple more hours into it. It depends on how happy I am with it. I may put a lot more hours into it. I don't know. I was thinking, I do have a Dremel tool, so after I'll use the Dremel tool to make all these cuts really smooth all the way around and make sure it's all clean. I'll sand off the everything, sand it all down, make it smooth-ish. And then I may use the Dremel to texture the whole thing. Now this letter here, this WT combo here, I think what I'm going to do, since the W is always smaller anyway, since I fucked up this side a little bit, it's a little, square, I'm going to narrow both of these so that they come down like this more. And then I will bring this up here. It's hard to do it backwards. So I'm going to make this narrower so that it misses the bottom of the T, right? And then I'll bring this up here and have it widen out to be the T bottom. Because you don't want this being narrower than this. I don't want any weak spots where it's going to break. So this is going to look a little different in here. And then I'll get it basically cut the way I want it. And that shouldn't take a super long time because I just go around all the edges. I take my various tools. I got a Dremel, I got a sander going. It's good for rounding shit. And just a hand sander. And that's basically it. And then, okay, so I'll get it all cleaned up. And if I want to, if I feel like it still, I'll go with the Dremel tool after and add texture to things. Make it all textured out. And that'll make it look cool too. And that won't take a super long time either. And you can texture with, you just sort of pick any old attachment and go, I'm going to go like this every time for this one. The problem will be staying consistent. You make the pattern kind of sparse at first, and then if you feel like you want it a little denser, you dense it up. But you go sparse, get the whole thing, so you close it out and it's good enough. You can always close it out, right? I suspect this whole project, depending on how cool I want it to be, shouldn't take more than a total of 3 or 4 hours. If I want it to be super cool, maybe 5 or 6. And it's a 1 or 2 dayer. And then I'll have something cool. I'm thinking about, I'll hang it on the wall, behind me. And I'll probably make this F a little shorter here, You see, it's drawn to here, but I left myself some extra space. What? Oh, there's a helicopter flying over, and the cops are making some sort of announcement. Anyway, I'll go listen to that. But this is a fun project. I like it a lot. So I suggest getting a jigsaw. Jigsaws are great. When you're working on boards, it's super easy. Don't work on, as a general tip for pre-work shit, note I freehanded those letters, no rulers, no stencils, anything like that. Waste of time. Too much work. And the thicker the board is, the harder everything is to work with. And also, I tried messing with the board I had already before I got these boards. It was too thick. Note also that always scale down. It is very difficult to do detail work on a big piece of wood without taking forever. And big is like, that board is big. This is a big ass board to do any kind of carving work on. That's a shitload of wood to deal with. This is, if you want to be detailed, this is a lot of work. A lot of wood to deal with a Dremel tool, right? So I sometimes like to, get to cut off a little square like this and carve the shit out of that would be cool, right? These are cool projects because I'll tell you why. When somebody comes over and you show them this little thing you carved, even if it looks kind of like folk arty and like half-assed, but you tried and you cared about it and you had fun making it, people go, "Wow, you carved that?" It's weird because there's a certain reality to a physical object like that that causes people to feel it more than something else, All right, so that's my project idea for lazy people. I hope somebody else tries it, and I mean, it's not like the world's most original idea. I'm just pointing out that it doesn't have to be long and intensive. It's quick and easy. I will say this about the project, though. Remember, the key to successfully dealing with wood is clamping it and reclamping it and clamping and reclamping it. You got to move it around all the time to get to the parts you want to cut at and reclamp it. So get something that's easy to clamp onto. I got an aquarium stand, so it's got a hole in the middle and it's got bars on each side. I can clamp anywhere on it. It's really nice, and that makes cutting a lot easier. If you don't have something to clamp onto that's good, or it may take you a little while to get used to clamping shit if you're not used to clamping shit. I'm really bad at all this kind of stuff. Remember that. I'm not trying to play humble or anything. I'm really fucking bad at all this kind of stuff, but I just try anyway, and sometimes it'll come out good. I think this one's going to come out good, so I think. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy doing projects like me.